Good evening, traders. This is Tony D. Ahead of the major speech here tonight, we're going to just go look over some of the charts, some of the positioning, and also just look at some of the bank reports and a few just game plans on how we're going to play it. In terms of last night, you could see that we are long Euro Yen as the preferred way of playing this. Already seeing some strength here. This is coming mostly through dollar yen, grinding higher, threatening to break those previous highs as well, and a pretty dangerous situation. And in terms of the outlook for the euro, I mean, yeah, look at a little bit of downside potential here, especially if Draghi disappoints, but nothing crazy. It's more Yellen who's going to be the concern for the euro. And if Yellen's hawkish, then dollar yen's going up, while stocks are strong, euro yen is going up. Okay, so it's a pretty safe trade if you look at those logistics. The danger actually comes from Yellen being dovish, because dollar yen will fall sharply, maybe break 109 or some of these lows here, and that will drag euro yen down faster than the euro probably is ready to rally, because in the 5-hour gap between the Yellen speech and ECB speech, you are going to see the market uneasy to buy euro aggressively, even if the US dollar is weak. Does that make sense? It's more of a timing trade than anything else. So the current trade we have is above $1,000 profit, but we're targeting 132.90 because the actual trade hasn't begun yet. The real trade begins if dollar yen can get past 110. Then you can get to see some serious gains here in euro yen, serious gains in pound yen as well. So the trades are looking pretty nice at the moment, but definitely the game has not yet begun. And in terms of how you have to be approaching the market tonight, you have to be open to everything. Yeah, but you will have time if you're long euro yen already. You definitely have time to get out of the euro yen if Yellen surprises to the dovish side. But you don't have to if you think that Draghi is going to support the euro, and there's many ways in which he can. And if he talks it down, we can look at the price action. If the market doesn't sell off aggressively, then the euro is showing its true colors, and it's been showing its true colors for a while that it wants to rally. But right now, it's continuing to rise even into this announcement, which is a little bit dangerous because the chance of US dollar strength from Yellen would mean that the market gets caught long, and that can lead to a reversal and taking out stops for some of these lows here before finding a little bit more stabilization. But I'm definitely happy with the euro to fall, and then we can buy a little bit as the next thing after these two speeches. The market's going to be looking forward to the September 7th ECB meeting. So the market will quickly change focus, and we can, if it wants to play that as a bullish thing, which is very likely it will, then the euro should find support very easily next week. All right, so we don't mind the euro to sell off. We actually want dollar yen to use that sort of US dollar strength to break 110, because that's much more important for our euro yen trade, which is starting to really come along. In terms of other pairs, I mean, they may be in play. Aussie's a little high, pound starting to show a little bit of basing, which is good for the pound yen trade, which makes sense as well if dollar yen reverses and stocks remain strong. There was a little bit of an attempt here from the DAX on the open to go down. I didn't have any, I thought that was a bit crazy, so I bought a really nice level here. I've got out again, but there is definitely potential here for the DAX to rally, but you can't ignore the fact that every low is getting lower, every high is getting lower. That's a little disconcerting. I want to actually see us break and get to 12,300, pull back, and then I'll buy again. There's no reason to play when the market's running into resistance and failing. And if the euro does take off, then the DAX is naturally capped a little bit in terms of its US dollar value. Because of the euro rising, it means that the DAX, which is priced in euros, gets more expensive relative to other indices, and that can slow down the rally, even if stock markets are rallying here. Alright, so that's my opening little rant there, guys. Nothing changed really too much since last night. when we talked, because there hasn't been any change in some of the data. Just the levels are getting nicer for us. And I don't think you should be too worried that the market's going to play a buy the rumor, sell the fact here, because dollar yen's so low that it's not really buy the rumor, sell the fact at all. It's more short covering, because the sellers are scared that Yellen's going to come out with something that the buyers can latch onto. And the euro, the euro is a little bit more positionally stretched, but the story is so strong that the sellers, whoever's selling, I think is a short-term seller, and I don't think they're looking for a break, back down below, say, 116.20, because that would require a huge change in sentiment, and we'll have plenty of opportunity if that happens. But this is looking really, really strong right now. Hey guys, there's not so many of you in tonight on a Friday night. Why are you, why are you not all trading? Maybe it's a little too early because the speech is still a little way away. I can understand though, Friday's not the best day to trade sometimes. Now let's have a look at some of the research regarding, we looked at some of the research last night, but in terms of just some short-term, and after reading a few reports today, I'm actually much more on this on the side that it's going to be a bit of a non-event tonight. There's actually more chance of a non-event than an event tonight in terms of movement. So you could be disappointed, guys. But no news is good news, especially for the dollar yen at these levels. You actually want the market to be gentle. That will encourage the buyers to come back in, and you will be able to more safely buy the euro yen or pound yen, whatever your pleasure in there. Just a little bit of interest here in the pound. You're just going to see in a second when we look through some of these reports. Alright, Barclays is entering a tactical short. I really want to see why they're doing this. I mean, at the end of the day as well, when you're looking at analyst reports, you do have to keep in the back of your mind that these guys are paid to do reports daily, and sometimes you will see a little bit what you would call a forced sort of trade, and definitely at the case right now, it may be the case that if you're getting the idea to sell the euros just because you're trying to put out something there that might make a little bit of pips, but it's probably not going to make the most. So let's have a look at this just quickly here. I turned off the video earlier there.
And you moved the camera a little bit?
That's my mate. He's just visiting from Queensland actually. Not a trader though, so not as interested in the ongoings in the market as some of us are. I'm definitely not closing my trades here. I'm going to be long on the euro yen for a while now. Alright, let's have a look at why you would want to sell the euro. I'm actually interested to see the bear case here because it's not my case. Euro USD has overshot short-term fundamentals and the risk now skewed to the downside. We believe the Euro USD has peaked for now and the timing is right to go short tactically. Alright, so it's overshot cyclical fundamentals. US dollar's weakened too much. Okay, I mean that the US dollar weakened too much is definitely true. And that's the danger here. It's whether the euro story has got a little bit more legs in it, and whether the US dollar rebounds will be sustainable. I don't think the US dollar rebounds will be sustainable, and I think the Euro story has a lot of legs in it. So they're talking about the risks around Jackson Hole speeches in September, ECB, and the Fed meeting in September. So the Fed meeting in September is where they're going to be announcing asset balance sheet reduction. So that's its own little form of tightening. It's a big month, September, and skewed towards a changing narrative that favors the US dollar, particularly expensive the euro. Alright. Narratives coming to a point where the euro has begun to show signs of exhaustion. And inflation's too close, below 2%. So I think the euro is a little bit more fair valued now, and that the US dollar is weak is the main view, I think. Yeah, any economic modeling is definitely makes me a bit skeptical about trade ideas. Now this is true. I think the market underestimates the likely path of Fed funds. There's really little chance here that the Fed's going to be raising in December. 35% chance, and that can change dramatically even tonight. And that will stop the US dollar being sold off. But I think the euro rally has got its own organic momentum, and that its momentum is built upon the bottom is in. And that's a powerful force in FX markets. When the bottom's in, then every dip is seen as a buying opportunity. And so far we've had very little dips. And maybe if you're a little bit skeptical on the euro, you want to wait for a pullback, maybe to 117 or 116. And then if it turns around and it begins to rally again, you can be a little bit more confident in the trade. I myself don't really need that, but I would like to see that as well, just to have that extra confirmation. But it hasn't been giving that confirmation lately, and you may not get it as well. 120 potentially maybe the target, where you might see a little slowdown in the euro. But the pause here seems to be the lack of information about the tapering. So post-tapering rally is definitely possible, but definitely pre-tapering rally, so the rally before the September 7th meeting is the rally I'm really interested in. Post-taper, you have more information. And so right now, the imagination is running wild about the tapering program. And we also don't have any information about the Fed's balance sheet adjustment. So while this is the case, it's very easy to push higher. Once you do have the tapering program from the ECB and you do have the balance sheet adjustment from the Fed, that's in the 20th or September 20th meeting, then the game can change for the rest of the year. But right now, there's no reason to go about trying to push that next view, right, where the market's going to change. Morph's little post there, Gary Cohen, Trump to push for tax reform passage by a year's end, is a way that US dollar can get strong. A very strong way. But remember, we're buying euro against against the yen, and dollar yen's a really important part of that. And that Trump story, if he gets tax reform, is definitely where you can see. Tax reform is huge for stocks and huge for US dollar repatriation and US dollar investment. The US debt ceiling debate, is a risk to the US dollar view. I think that's not going to be a problem, and that is a potential cause of volatility and downside in stock markets, but it is also a form of really strong euro rally if that was to happen. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Right, so they think the positioning is too strong on the euro, and they're looking for a couple of changes in the market's attitude towards the US dollar. So they're looking at these lower highs. Yeah, we talked about these, right? These lower highs is in the euro is a big part of why the euro may struggle if you can't get past them. But you know, don't count the euro out just yet. It's, you know, we can definitely break higher today. Let's see how we close. I mean, Monday we have a much clearer view, but even right now it looks pretty strong. And you know, euro yen is its own beast, so it's got its own potential here. UBS little daily here. Euro USD, all eyes on Jackson Hole gathering, yada yada. Euro's been in an 80-20 range for 80 hours now. We don't expect it to change. US dollar short covering, we did see that with dollar yen. All eyes on Jackson Hole overnight. Action will be very limited. Only assignment in the usual morning. Okay, blah blah blah. Alright, still prefer to play short side, rallying towards 110. Yeah, euro pound is the trade which is some people are looking at now. You did see that nice little failure overnight, and that's sort of something you see at the end of a rally, but I mean, this is probably just got a little bit overbought rather than anything else, because the euro rally still has a lot of room to move, and whether the pound is going to go with the euro is really debatable. So I'm not too bullish on it, but I'm definitely open to the idea that the pound's going to rally with the euro in coming days, but in coming weeks anyway. But yeah, definitely not selling euro pound is my preferred way if there's a strong euro story here. But yeah, right now it is struggling, the euro pound. We'll keep an eye on it. Euro yen though, look at pound yen though. Look at that, it's developing very nicely. And when this gets its move on, it gets very aggressive, guys. Aussie dollar, Kiwi have really gone quiet in terms of their movement. Kiwi's a little bit weaker, but you don't sell the Kiwi at bottom. You know, you just don't. It's a really dangerous pair to sell. If you expect there to be potential for US dollar weakness or a major euro rally, and this pair bottoms and changes direction, it gets very aggressive. So yeah, if you've missed a fair bit of this selling, I don't recommend you play the sell side here. There is a few calling for a move back to 69. Now that can definitely happen, but you know, a lot of this selling was pretty hard fought. You know, this is pretty hard fought. It was against the grain, and you're really not going to see probably a Kiwi sell-off if you have Aussie doing well and you have dollar CAD doing well. It's just unlikely. I mean, you get underperformance, but underperformance is not the same as a sell-off. If you want to sell off from these levels on short Kiwi, you need US dollars to straight, like a reversal here. This is not the time to be looking for straight up Kiwi selling if you're looking at the backdrop of everything else. It's the same as Kiwi, the pound. It's very hard to get bearish at 128 if you expect there to be a situation where the US dollar is going to be weak in the next couple of weeks, and so you can get caught short. And the squeezes in the pound are pretty brutal, but the squeezes in the Kiwi are the most brutal in the market. If you've traded Kiwi for a while, you know what we're talking about there. So it could go into a little bit of a choppy range, but regardless, the next 100 pips could be either way quite easily. Keep an eye on this dollar CAD. Actually, it's starting to threaten some of those lows. And yeah, Aussie's it's just boring, so we won't look at that at the moment. No, it's not it was topped at 50. So the last 7K, I mean, it's been a very good 2 months. So the last 8K is all flat. or profit, and that was back in the start of July. So just top to 50. So it's been a good couple of months. But there was, I think June wasn't so good. June was sideways to down a little bit, I think. So yeah, the last 2 months have been good, but that's been the months where the euro's been rallying so sharply, and I was, been very bullish for the euro for a long time, so it's been easy in that regards. So it's not like it's when you're right, it's easy to make money. When you're wrong, it's it's the hardest thing in the world. And it's more of a timing thing with my trades. More, the themes are rarely wrong. It's more that you're a month too early, and because the markets these days are it's taking a long time for certain views to come through. So you might have a view that Trump's going to get impeached, and you could be right, but it may not happen until February next year, right? So you'd be short for forever and just not get paid off until much later, or you might have the view that Draghi or the ECB is going to taper slowly, or slow down its taper when things slow down in the Eurozone. It's just something like that, right? It's just hard to predict. A much more achievable prediction would be something like, you think the RBA is going to go from neutral to a hiking bias. That is tradable, and you can use that on dips as well. And so yeah, right now though, there isn't really any reason to go looking outside the dollar yen and euro yen complex, because everything else is a little more mixed, whereas these ones are really showing some clear sort of direction. But on the note of euro pound, just because I know a fair few of you trade it, let's have a look at it. Euro pound hit the year-end forecast of 91 sooner than expected. First, euro pound's quite stretched. The 14-day RSI is the highest level since May's Brexit speech. It's only been stretched 4 times since 2008. Okay, so it's overbought. The pound trade weighted index is also extremely low. So this is an important note, guys. Although the pound is at 128, every other pound cross is significantly lower. So the pound cross here, the pound on the trade weighted index is actually as low as when the pound was at 120. So the pound's extremely weak at the moment. The pound's extremely weak. You don't think that the pound's just a little bit weak in the last little while. It's extremely weak. And the trade weighted index shows that, right? So that against the euro pound, against the Swiss, you can see that the pound is really struggling at year lows, and it's not like where a lot of people are talking about the pound going to 110. That sort of needed the US dollar to remain strong. The US dollar's been really weak. The pound's rallied against the US dollar, but not against anything else. So these guys aren't exactly bearish, but they're taking profit on their long. We're looking at the stretchness of the 14-day. You can see it's getting up there. Alright, and it's breaking away from its interest rate differentials. And the Bank of England, no one's really pricing in them raising rates too quickly. So this can change. When you have no chance of raising rates, it can change quickly to raising rates. But yeah, you can see this is one side though, that the pound's got a problem in terms of its trade with the Eurozone. And this merger and acquisition inflows is definitely to do with lack of confidence and ability to plan. It's very hard to get people to invest in your country if they're not sure what it's going to be like in 12 months' time. So that's relatively normal. All right, so today, guys, we're looking for Yellen to speak in 2.5 hours. What she says about the asset, balance asset reduction, and what she said, balance sheet reduction, and what she says about inflation is the most key trigger words. Very unlikely that she talks down the chances of the Fed raising rates in the coming future. She needs to keep the door open so that they can. This leaves the danger skew towards dollar-yen, so dollar strength, short term. 5 hours after that, you do get Draghi speaking. Market is not really looking for anything new. So the sell-off that you might get, unless he explicitly says something negative, it should be limited, I believe, to the mid-117s. Unless the US dollar is extremely strong on the back of something that Yellen's done, then you might get down to the low 117s. But broadly speaking, you shouldn't expect too much volatility tonight. Keep an eye on some key levels like dollar-yen. If you can get above 110, that's a good sign for the US dollar. And that could actually kick things along across multiple pairs. But broadly, you know, it's probably not going to be too easy to see major US dollar strength that lasts for a sustained period of time here. So yeah, don't expect too much tonight, guys. It may not be the event that the market was hoping for. And a lot of the times when you see these events that the market's hoping for, it's because they're looking for a little more volatility, and volatility is what's driving traders, but you rarely get what you wish in this game. So the best pair, I believe, is the euro yen, and that's the trade we've been in for almost a week now. That's right, tradie. If dollar yen goes up, euro yen will go up as well, just at a slower pace because the euro itself will fall. All right, guys. Best of luck tonight. We'll review what happens on Monday. If you have any questions, please do send me a little PM. If I'm online, I will try and answer those. And we will see the reaction to the price. It's actually very important what happens tonight, so we can play the next couple of weeks in terms of our plan. If things start to look like they're moving into how we expect them to, which is euro yen higher, then we can even buy more euro yen next week, and we can start to buy euro on dips as well if the price action's right. So it's a pretty important day, and there's every chance. I mean, there's as good a chance as ever that you might see a big announcement from either of the two speakers tonight. Alright, guys, best of luck. I'll be back Monday.